بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. Inshallah, in this lesson, we will be now discussing Noon Tawqeed. So we've discussed Noon Tawqeed earlier. Here we can be discussing how to use Noon Tawqeed with the Amr and the Nahi. And thereafter, how to use the Noon Tawqeed when the verb has a Dhamirul Fa'il. Okay. So for recap, we have Dhamir, and the plural of Dhamir is Dhama'ir. And there are three types of Dhamir. Dhamirun marfu'un, Dhamirun mansubun, and Dhamirun majrurun. And at the moment we're discussing Dhamirun marfu'. So the Dhamir marfu' can either be a Dhamir mubtada or Dhamirul fa'il. And the Dhamirul fa'il can either be mustatir or it can be Dhamir bari. Dhamir mustatir, there's no form at the end of the verb to represent this Dhamir. And the Dhamir baris, there is a form in the form of an alif or a waw or a ta or tuma, etc. So Noon Tawqeed, we've mentioned this before. What do you do if you have a verb? For example, let's take the word nasara, for example. Nasara means to help. The mudari is yansuru. So how would you add Noon Tawqeed to this? Anybody? What do you do? La yansuranna. What's Islam called? You add lamul ibtida before the verb, and then at the end of the verb, you add noonu ta'keed or noonu tawkeed. It can be read both ways. That is how you do it. And then we said, nasara yansuru, the dhamma at the end, yansuru. Not the sad, that's part of the verb. But this then becomes what? This sad, this dhamma, you give it a fatha, it becomes la yansuranna. The same principle will apply to the amr. So you have if'al. So what do? You don't add lam al-ibtida. But all you do is you add the noon at the end. Number one, you add the noon at the end. And number two, what do? You give a fatha. So instead of the sukoon, it has a fatha. So if'al becomes if'alanna. And then when you translate this, it becomes, you say for example, so normally if'alanna would be translated as do. So here we can say, for example, any ideas how to create emphasis? Most certainly do, most certainly, or most certainly do, or you must do, or you, some kind of English form you will use to create emphasis. The same will apply with the nahi. Nahyun, nahi. La taf'al, you give the lam the fatha, and then you add noon tawqeed, becomes la taf'alan. Understood? Everybody following? Yes? So same as the mudari, the same principle applies here. So for example, let's do one or two examples. So ahsinanna ila al-ummahati. Who wants to do this? Ahsinanna ila al-ummahati. Ji. How would you do tarkib of this? Ji Muhammad, go ahead. Is fa'lu amrin andi fa'il. Is fa'lu amrin an fa'il. And then the noon is what? Noonu ta'keed. It's called what? Noonu ta'keed. Correct? And then ilal ummahati becomes what? Ilal ummahati. This becomes maf'ulun bihi ghayru sarihin. Becomes maf'ulun bihi ghayru sarihin. Yes, also means certainly be kind or be good to the mothers, be good to mothers. Okay? So certainly, or you must be. So if you say, if you want to add the word must, you can add the word you must be good. So you must be good to your parents, certainly be good to your parents. Something like this. La taghdibanna ala al-aba'i. Who can translate this one? Ahmed. So la is going to be what? Harfu nahyin. Taghdibanna. Taghdib becomes fa'lu nahyin. And we forgot to put the fa'il up here. Fa'il here is going to be what? Anta. Dhamir mustatir. Even here fa'lu nahyin. And the fa'il, which is going to be what? Anta. And then noon becomes noonu ta'keed. And al-aba'i becomes maf'ulun bihi ghayru sarihin. Okay? And then jar majroor. Understood? Everybody following? Yes? Now we have three different forms with noon tawkid at the end. We have, so if there's a noon tawkid at the end of the verb, if there's also lamul ibtida, what kind of verb will that be? If'al mudari. So la yaf'alanna. So noon tawkid and lamul ibtida, if'al mudari. If there's noon tawkid and la for nahi, harfu nahyin, then this becomes fa'lu nahyin, la taf'alanna. And there's no lamul ibtida or no harfu nahyin, then it becomes what? Amr. So if you see noon at the end and it's lamul ibtida, it's mudari. La at the beginning along is going to be nahyin. And no lamul ibtida or no nahi is going to be fa'lu amrin. Are you following? Everybody with me? So for example, idhabanna, how do you translate idhabanna? Hamad, how do you translate this? So this becomes noon tawkid. Let's go. So what kind of sayga is this? Anybody? What sayga is this? It's mukhatab, so the anta is the dhamir. But what kind of verb is it? Is it mudari? Is it amar or is it nahyun? It's mudari. How can it mudari and amr? It's amr. If it was mudari, what would it have had at the beginning? It would have one of alamatul mudari or lamul ibtida. And lamul ibtida. So here it is going to be fa'lu amrin. Okay. What about this one? La yadhhabanna. What kind of verb is this? This is mudari. Why? Lamul ibtida, lamul tawkid at the beginning. And la tadhhabanna, this is going to be nahyun because there is no lamul ibtida. Noon tawkid but no lamul ibtida. Understood? Everybody following? Pardon me? The second one. Here. What are you confused about regarding this one? It has noon tawkid. And along with the noon tawkid is a lamul ibtida at the beginning. So the only kind of verb that has lamul ibtida and noon tawkid is the fa'l mudari'. No, it's not third person. That would be liyadhhabanna. But we haven't done that yet. Baby, this is la. That would be li. Okay? You understand? Okay. So far, with the fa'l mudari', with the fa'l amr and the fa'l nahi, we've done basically this one. We've done one sayga basically, the yaf'alu and the yaf'alanna, and for feminine. And then we also done if'alanna and la taf'alanna. We've done those. But now we want to learn how to add the noonu tawkid, how to add this when there's also a dhamirul fa'il along with the verb. Okay, so when there's a dhamirul fa'il and noonu tawkid, how does this work? So again, if you go back to our previous lessons where we said there are three types of fa'il mudari, one with dhamir mustatir, one with dhamir baris. So if you look at the ones with, which ones have dhamir baris, dhamir mustatir? The ones with the asterisks. So you have here yaf'alu. So the ones that have dhamir mustatir, like huwa, basically they have no noonul i'rab or no noonul i'rab or no noon niswa. So these, all of these, what do you do? Yes, you change the dhamma to a fatha and then you add noon tawkid. Even so, these ones here. Yes? So we can just basically do all across the board. These, all of these, what do you do? You remove the dhamma and give it a what? A fatha. Is that clear? So for example, yaf'alu, you say la yaf'alanna. Taf'alu, la taf'alanna. Taf'alu, la taf'alanna for the mudari'. For the amr, if'alanna. For the nahi, la taf'alanna. For mutakallim, af'alu becomes la af'alanna. And for mutakallim plural, la naf'alanna. Do you understand? Does everybody understand this? Yes? So the first one is when you have no noonul i'rab or no noon niswa, you change the dhamma to a fatha. Correct? When there is a noonul i'rab, what do? When there's a noonul i'rab at the end, you just drop the noonul i'rab. So for example, if you look at these, the jewels for example. Okay? Sorry. If you look at the jewels for example, what's happening? You drop the noon i'rab. So yaf'alani. If you don't drop the noon i'rab, what will happen? You'll have yaf'alani. Yes, you have yaf'alani. Then after that, if you add the noon tawkid after it, you end up with 3 noons. And 3 noons together is burdensome on the tongue. So you say yaf'alani, drop that. And you give the kasra of this, move it over here. So yaf'alani. So drop the noon i'rab. And what do? So in the dual forms, what do? You drop the noon al-i'rab and make it, put the kasra of the noon al-i'rab onto the noon ta'keed. So it becomes la yaf'alani. So look, yaf'alani becomes la yaf'alani. Even here in dual, taf'alani becomes la taf'alani. Taf'alani becomes la taf'alani. And then if'alani, la taf'alani. Taf'alani, la taf'alani, if'alani, la taf'alani. So far, everybody with me? The last form, or the last 2, is that you drop the noon al-i'rab. But after you drop the noon al-i'rab, you end up with having 2 sakin together. For example, the ones with the waw, or the ones with a ya, zamir. So for example, if you go to yaf'aluna, for example, yaf'aluna. So the rule is, you drop the noon al-i'rab. So we drop the noon al-i'rab, yes? So you end up with yaf'aluna. So yaf'aluna is a mad, then is a gunna, yaf'aluna. It becomes too long and too burdensome and too hard to enunciate. It takes too long to enunciate the words. So they say, well, waw is a weak letter, you drop this waw. But then how do you know the waw was there? Because of the dhamma on the lam. So yaf'aluna becomes la yaf'alunna. So that's why you say the fa'il was the waw, but the waw has now been removed. Waw muqaddara. The waw is hidden. Okay? Then taf'aluna, same thing will happen. La taf'alunna waw muqaddara. So it really should have been la taf'alu for the waw for the fa'il and then the noon tawkeed. But to help pronunciation and make it smoother on the tongue, you drop the waw. If'alunna and la taf'alunna. And the same happens in the mukhataba. So la taf'alina, you drop the noon al-i'rab, and then what should it become? Taf'alina. But then you have too many, it's too long to enunciate. So then you drop the ya, it becomes la taf'alinna, if'alinna, and la taf'alinna. And the ones with noon niswa, as I mentioned before, noon niswa, women are very strong when they're all collective. So you just leave it as it is. You can't change that. So you say la yaf'alna, la yaf'alnani. And here, la taf'alnani, or if'alnani, and la taf'alnani. Understood? Are you following this? Okay, now there's one question somebody had posed, very good question, was, well, we say here, what do we say here in yaf'alu? The dhamir is what? Mustatir, correct? So why can't we say here the dhamir is also mustatir? Why do we say dhamir is muqaddara? Okay, it's a very good question. The reason for that is, mustatir means it just never actually, there is no actual form of it. So in never ever do you see yaf'alu with something at the end of it. Yaf'alu is always yaf'alu. There's never a waw, never an alif, never a noon, niswa, nothing. There's never a file after it. As opposed to this here, there was a waw. There was a waw, but the waw has been removed. Okay, the waw has been removed. Okay? Yes? It's like, say for example, the 2 people. One person said, you know what? We both equal. So no, we're both not equal in our finances. I had £100,000. I lent it to somebody, and it's going to come back to me eventually. But I have nothing at the moment. And the other person has nothing, but he hasn't lent anything to anybody. So they both have 0 in their balance, but one has £100,000 due to him. So here, this doesn't have a fa'il. This zamir is this no zamir at all in this form. That's why it's mustatir. Here, the zamir is there, but is gone on holiday because of too crowded at home. So yaf'aluna is too crowded. He's moved out. He will come back eventually. Do you understand? So when it's noon al-i'rab, you drop the noon al-i'rab. When it's waw or ya as a fa'il, you drop those in the ghaibun and the mukhatabun forms. And in the ya, when it's mukhataba, you also drop the dhamir in there. Understood? So let's have a few, so one example, very simple example, but we go through a few different forms to help recognizing it. So we have here, la yadkhulanna. So dakhala yadkhulu is the main verb. So how would you translate this? La yadkhulanna al-jannata. How would you translate this? So let's do tarkib once and then we'll know it. So lam is what? What is the lam? Yadkhulu is the, well yadkhula is the fa'il. Where's the fa'il? Is mustatir, which is what? What's it going to be? Anybody? What's the fa'il in here? Huwa. Noon becomes? What is the noon going to be? Noon ta'keed, and al-jannata becomes the maf'ulun bihi. Translation? He. So this will, he will certainly enter Jannah. Okay. La yadkhulunna al-jannah. How do you translate this? La yadkhulunna al-jannata. Same tarkeeb, but what's the difference here? What's the fa'il in here? The waw. The waw. What kind of waw? The waw muqaddara, the hidden waw. So this is translated as they. What's the difference? The dhamma here and the fatha here. The fatha represents the singular. The dhamma here represents the waw muqaddara, which has been muqaddar, made hidden. لَتَدْخُلَنَّ الْجَنَّةِ. What's the fa'il here? لَتَدْخُلَ. Pardon me? It could be anta or here, but we'll go with anta for now. It could be here as well, but yes, women will enter Jannah, but I'm just saying here, it's masculine singular. And لَتَدْخُلُنَّ. What's the fa'il in here? The waw muqaddara. Very good. Waw muqaddara. This is the waw muqaddara. Correct? And this is sort of, this one is translated as what? Let this one here. Number 4. This is translated as?
So I tell you something and I say
You, what five brackets? Masculine.
it's not that this can't happen, but it's a short passage.
Singular. And in here is you as well, but it's going to be what? Masculine, plural. What's the differentiating factor? The dhamma and the fatha. Does everybody understand this? Okay. Let's do a few now, a bit more complicated examples, a bit more challenging. Not complicated, but more challenging, because everybody's getting bored and sleepy. Too easy examples. Okay. لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ عَنْ نِعَمِ اللَّهِ. Ji, who wants to go? Ji. Bismillah. Come on, Bismillah. Anybody? Jay, go ahead. You had one turn already. It's Ibrahim? Ibrahim? You done a few. Give somebody else a chance. Come on. Anybody else? Go ahead. Correct. I'm not going to write it because I'm struggling for space. Okay, I'll write it this way. Lamul ibtida'i. Okay, then tus'alu becomes what is it going to be? Yes, so it's going to be what? So how do we label this? Okay, so fail. But what kind of fail is it? What kind of fail is this? Is it a normal fail or is it slightly different? Yeah, fa'il majhul, because the dhamma at the beginning and the second last letter has a fatha, so it's fa'ilun majhul. So fa'ilun majhul and the fa'il. What's the fa'il? And the waw is a waw muqaddar. The fa'il is going to be wawun مقدرة. The واو مقدرة. And the noon, this noon becomes what? This is noon ta'kid. Very good. Yes? Then we have يوم القيامة becomes مفعول فيه. And النعم الله تعالى becomes مفعول به غير صريح. Very good. Well done. مفعول به غير صريح. And then نعم الله. This is very easy. يوم القيامة becomes what in phrase? النعم الله becomes النعم الله becomes Pardon me? Why man utna? Do they match in ding? D-I-N-G? What does ni'am mean? Gifts. Blessings. When ni'amillah becomes then what? Blessings. Mudaf. Mudafun ilayhi. Do you understand? And translation will be? What we can do, remember I said before, if you have a maf'ul fi, you know, like once upon a time, if you put the maf'ul fi in English first, it makes it easy, you get it out the way, it's easy, and it's English standard as well. So if you say the maf'ul fi first, it makes it easy for us. So what do we say here? On the day of judgment, on the day of judgment, G then you, but what form is it? Masculine. How do you know it's plural, not singular? Because of the Dhamma Lam. Very good. So on the day of judgment, comma, you. Sa'ala yas'alu means you will be. Why is it will be and not you will ask? It's fairly much future will give you will, but why is it will be, not why will ask? Where does the will be come from? Very good, very fairly majhool. So on the day of judgment you will be asked, and means about, regarding, any of them to do regarding. You can say about as well, not a problem. About what? About Allah's blessings or the blessings and the gifts of Allah. Plural of ni'mah. Everybody understood? G. Yes, no, you do call it naibul file, but just my mistake. Yeah, it's naibul file. G. Naibul file. My mistake. Naibul file. G. Any other questions? G. Next. G. G. Next person. Hamad, you haven't had a turn yet. Go ahead. You can go ahead if you want to have a go. Good. Fa'lu amrin. Then noon is noon ta'keed. Fa'il is going to be what? Can you have a huwa in amr? Correct. Anta. Okay. Anta. G. Then al-Qur'ana becomes al-Qur'ana. Made up of al-Mutawaddi'ina becomes. Good. Translation as a hal. Translation will be. Yeah, so read the Quran and the books whilst in a state of wudu. Good. Next one. Anybody? Ji. Bismillah. Lam becomes what? Lamul ibtida. Then Fail and fa'il, which is waw muqaddara. Good. Waw muqaddara. Then nun al-ta'keed. مفعول به مفعول فيه غير صريح. Translation. Pardon me?
It's not necessarily it's just it's like unripe when you when you take something right.
In the hereafter. They will most definitely taste the punishment of the fire in the hereafter. G. Next one. Person next to you, they can continue. Lam al-ibtida. What kind of fail? Is it fail amr? Why can't it be fail amr? It's fail majhul. Why can't it be fail amr? There's a dhamma on the top, plus there's a lam al-ibtida. Fail nahi, fail amr doesn't have lam al-ibtida. Okay, so fail majhul, what's the fa'il? The waw muqaddara. Waw muqaddara. Dara, noon is tawkeed.
That's right. So the salah is valid.
مفعول فيه من القبول. That's also مفعول فيه غير صريح. مفعول له غير صريح. Translation. For accounting, reckoning. What have you missed out the translation of? You said on the day of Qiyamah they will be resurrected, or you will be resurrected from the graves from the grave for reckoning. You didn't translate. So on the day of Qiyamah, you will most certainly or definitely be resurrected from your graves for reckoning. Okay, so alhamdulillah, we got it done. So we have again dhamir. The dhama'ir can be zamir marfu or zamir mansub, and we can also have zamir majroor. The two of them we'll do shortly. Dhamir marfu can be either a mubtada or it can be a fa'il. Or it can be ism of kana within that as well. Ism of kana, when I say kana, I mean ism kana, ismul laysa. The dhamir fa'il can either come in the madhi, it can come in the mudari, it can come in amar or nahi. And irrespective of which one it is, it can come as zamir mustatir or zamir bariz. So it can be a zamir mustatir in the madhi, mudari or amar, or zamir. This can come in each one of the three, and this can come in each one of these three. Okay? Any questions? Okay, alhamdulillah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.